How did one man's brave act on a cliff turn into an incredible story? When he saved a lion, what happened next was nothing short of shocking. Henry was a young ranger who had just started working at a national park. He had loved nature and animals since he was a child, so this job was a dream come true for him. Each day, Henry looked forward to new adventures and helping the animals in the park. The park was home to many species, including about 30 African lions. Henry felt a strong responsibility for their well-being. One morning, Henry set out in his jeep to patrol the park. The sun was rising, painting the sky in soft pink and orange. The air was fresh and cool with the smell of blooming flowers. Henry drove through a rocky area where one of the lion prides lived. The rocks were ideal for the lions, as they provided shelter and good lookout points. As Henry neared the rocks, he saw young lions playing on a cliff's edge. Their playful behavior made him smile, but also worried him because the cliff was dangerous for young lions. Suddenly, part of the rock began to fall down under their paws. Henry's heart raced as he feared for their safety. He hoped the adult lions would lead the cubs away from the edge in time. One of the older lions noticed the danger and roared loudly, trying to warn the cubs. The young lions were too engaged in their play to respond immediately. Seeing this, the older lion moved closer to the cubs. His roar finally got their attention, and they started to move away. However, the rock gave way as the lion approached. A large chunk of rock fell, taking one of the young lions with it. Henry watched in horror as the lion fell but managed to catch itself on a rock ledge. It was in a dangerous position and needed help. Henry quickly grabbed his radio and called for backup, explaining the situation and requesting urgent help. Determined to save the lion, Henry drove his jeep toward the cliff. He used the jeep's horn and movement to scare the other lions away, which worked. Once the area was clear, Henry ran to the cliff edge and saw the lion clinging to the rock. The lion's claws were slipping, and Henry knew he had to act fast. He returned to the jeep, took out strong ropes and began preparing them. Just then, he heard the sound of approaching jeeps. His colleagues had arrived. Together, they set up a system of ropes and began lowering one end to the lion. Henry took on the risky job of tying the lion with the ropes. The lion, fearful yet understanding, remained still as Henry carefully secured the ropes. When the lion was properly tied, Henry signaled the other rangers to start pulling. It was a tough job because the lion was heavy and the cliff was unstable. But they worked together, and after several exhausting minutes, the lion was pulled to safety. Once on solid ground, the lion rested, breathing heavily. Henry stayed close to the lion, who seemed to show gratitude. Henry carefully removed the ropes, and the lion stood up, looked at Henry, gave a soft roar, and walked away to join its pride. The rangers were amazed by the connection between the man and the wild animal. After the incident, life in the park went back to normal. Henry went about his work, often thinking about the lion he had rescued, though he knew he might never see it again. Months passed, and the monsoon season arrived, bringing heavy rains and the risk of floods. One morning, during a particularly heavy rainstorm, Henry was patrolling. The rain made it hard to see, and the jeep's wipers struggled to keep up. He saw a large fallen tree and decided to check it out. In the pouring rain, Henry got out of the jeep and approached the tree, worried about the animals that might have lost their homes. As he was thinking, he heard a roaring noise and saw a landslide coming towards him. Panicked, Henry ran back to the jeep but knew he wouldn't make it. His only shelter was the fallen tree. He climbed as high as he could and held onto the trunk tightly. The mud hit him with great force, but he managed to hold on. When the waves subsided, Henry found himself buried in mud but could breathe through a small pocket of air. He heard movement above and thought he saw sand-colored fur. It turned out to be the lion he had saved, which had alerted other rangers to his location. They rescued him, and Henry was amazed to see the lion, covered in mud, who had helped save him. The lion's actions showed a deep bond and respect between them.